Okay, hello. I am here with.
I'm MARIN. I'm a junior sculpture major here in OCAD.
And joining us is also.
Miles Mattingly. I'm a fine arts drawing and painting major.
And we're here to talk about being a student at MCAD and other stuff. So let's start with the first question. As an artist, what is your goal?
I mean, in like a less philosophical sense, to like make a living off of my art. I mean, studying art's kind of a gamble, and like at the end of the day, like I want to be able to do it like as my career, because it's what I find like more fulfilling than other things. And I mean, my artwork, I do like clay sculptures, which is kind of a difficult, smaller market to corner.
Yeah, it looks like you do a lot of different media.
Oh yes, I have been oil painting this semester too, which is why I'm in the painting studio.
Yeah. What did you say your major was?
Sculpture.
Sculpture. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
Last of our kind, they changed the sculpture major to sculpture and expanded media.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
So
Yeah. And what about you? What is your, as an artist, what is your goal?
A lot of my work has been about home and like recording place and people in the ways that like I remember them best and trying to kind of do right by like feelings of familiarity and nostalgia and stuff like that.
Sick. Next question. Where do you see yourself after you graduate? Kind of along with the same first one.
honestly, probably not as a sculptor.
Oh.
Probably as a tattoo artist.
Oh,
for
have you
a
thought
while.
about interning at the little tattoo place down the block?
Well, no, not right now. It's really hard to work as an apprentice while
Okay.
you're a student. I mean, I need a job that's gonna pay me. And the reality of being an apprentice, like at a tattoo shop, is that they don't pay you, unfortunately. So that would have to be a post-grad time commitment.
So that's interesting. So you said you mentioned that you are like a sculpture major, but you don't think you'll be doing that after you graduate. Why is that? Just like finances?
Yes, and it takes a long time to build an audience, and even then, it's not like a reliable job. I mean, you're a freelance artist. Unless you get pretty lucky, I mean, it's something difficult to make a stable income off of, which is why, like, tattooing for me is another art form that I'm, like, really passionate about. And I do kind of view it in a similar vein to sculpture, you know, like,
Yeah.
it's a permanent art form on someone's body, which is like a 3D thing.
That's pretty sick.
And it's also something about like design and fashion in a sense. Like you have the opportunity to like make people like feel great in their body, and I think there's something beautiful about that. But anyways, yes, being a freelance like fine art artist is hard, and tattooing is more of a realistic day job for me that is also still arts related.
Okay. And then what about you?
I'm thinking about teaching high school art classes. That's kind of the goal at the moment, just because that would be like a good stable thing. And there's, a lot that you can do with it. I feel like most teaching programs is you get your undergrad and whatever your intended field
Yeah.
is.
A lot of my art teachers were really memorable. Can I ask you what grade?
Yeah, high school definitely.
Okay.
Middle
Not too
school and high
little.
school, I'm sorry, I can't be a babysitter. I just can't do it. I need them to be able to speak sentences.
Yeah.
They have to be somewhere. I have to draw a line. But yeah, I want to teach high school, and then because that'll be like a good stable thing with like a very set schedule, I'll have a lot of time for like working on the side as an artist, and then having time to apply to galleries and things. So hopefully it'll kind of support each other in good ways, and then have summers to work. So,
That's really cool.
yeah.
Okay. Next question. What made you choose an art school instead of like, I don't know, not?
That's real. I actually almost didn't choose art school. I took a year off. I only did one gap year. It was almost two. But, I also graduated, like, my senior year was, like, fully online, basically. 'cause of
COVID?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of my things was, like, I was going to be spending so much money and taking out loans and stuff. I wanted to wait until I was sure that, like, everything would be, like, back to, like, an in-person kind of thing. Because... I don't know. Like, we spend too much money to be online.
Bro,
and I know they
heard
had
schools were paying kids online
Yeah.
the same price, if not more.
Yeah,
Ridiculous.
MCAD still charge the same. I mean, you
Wow.
weren't getting the same experience.
Wow.
Like, it's also like for like a 3D major, like not being able to work in the 3D shop at all like, yeah, I wasn't super interested. And, but also, like, beyond that, I mean, I don't know, like, I always, like, do kind of think if, like, it was the best decision to make to not go in a more, like, stable, like, career. But I'm kind of okay with the fact I, like, gambled on myself and I'm doing, like, what I'm passionate about over something, I guess, a little more strictly safe.
So, so you like, so sorry, can you like summarize what made you choose an art school?
Just that I give a lot of shits about art. Like, it really makes me happy. Like, no, seriously though, like, on like such a truthful level, like, I can't imagine myself being fulfilled in the same way if I did anything else. So that's why I picked art school over anything else.
Yeah, I'm with you. I can't imagine myself doing anything else. But also, I don't have many other skills. So, what about you?
Kind of similar. It was just, it had a lot to do with COVID, honestly, because before COVID, not that I was an academic weapon, but I was kind of an academic weapon. And I was a big academic overachiever, and I really wanted to study psychology or English, and I was really interested in, especially like specifically the diagnosis criteria behind schizophrenia, and hoping to like try and find some way to add external factors being triggers for like certain like symptoms that are brought on, because as of like the latest copy of the DSM-5, that's not a thing, and that was true in 2019 whenever I took my first psychology class, and I was really interested in that. And then COVID hit, and my work ethic went out the door. I'm not gonna lie. But after that, it was kind of a no-brainer because art's the one thing that's really held my interest, and it's like there's always something to study. There is never a time where you don't need to freshen up in some area or learn something else in another. It's like you can just keep moving with it, and I like that.
I agree. And the great thing about like art is like you can always improve. Like there's no
Exactly.
like stopping point. Like, oh, I learned everything I needed. No, there's always more.
Exactly.
Which is good and bad. Next question. What do you think about the state of the art industry right now? What are your feelings about it? Thoughts?
I don't know. In terms of like the fine art scene and like the fact that we're in like such like a consumer based market, I mean we're kind of, it's hard for like artists to sustain themselves doing what they truly love. Like if you want to make good income, you have to compromise on what you want to make for appeal and aesthetics. And then we look at things like Art Basel, and like the giant conventions in like, I mean Miami obviously, and in Italy, and like what sells versus like what doesn't. I mean, I don't know, it's also like such an elitist field. Not to discredit so much of the amazing artists we have in Minnesota. Like I'm lucky and like very thankful to like be in this state, like where we have like resources like Springboard. And like our arts council here, and that new like livable wage thing that they're doing for like what is it, like 250 artists. Anyways, yeah, there's a lot of like great things here in Minnesota, but I don't know, it's a little stressful, it's a little depressing. I wish arts were more of a priority in the world, even though I mean there's so many other more serious issues in the world. It's just,
But like down to like the fundamental core, it's like, you know, yes, you may not need art to survive, sure, but like to fulfill like a human need, I always think like, you know, back to our basic instincts, we always are so creative. It's like nourishment for the brain.
yeah, I mean it's enrichment and happiness and communication,
Yeah.
but also like understanding and like activism and expression. Like art can be so incredibly important and healing for people too.
It's also very distinctly human. Like it's,
Yeah.
I think people kind of forget that at the end of the day, it's kind of a human characteristic. There's not another species that just makes art in the way that we do, and the fact that we've made it such like an incredible cultural thing that we all care about so deeply. whether people, acknowledge it or not, because it's everywhere. Like, you cannot get away from an artist. Every chair that you sit in, everything that you look at, every billboard.
My brother, he's like dissing on me for going to art school. But I'm like, you literally play video games. There's graphics on there. Someone did that.
Exactly.
Everything is designed by an artist. From everything we sit on to everything we interact with, like every day long. Like,
We need
it's all been designed.
we need more appreciation, honestly.
Yes. Preach.
So I'm curious for you, because I know you want to go into the teaching scene.
Absolutely.
It's kind of, from what I heard, like because of COVID, it's been really rough. How do you feel about that?
It's honestly, I'm happy to be in Minnesota for it. I'm from Kentucky, and I don't know if you know anything that's happened with teaching in Kentucky in the last few years, but the governor did a really, really shitty thing. He axed teachers' pensions with very, very little plan, and so teachers were losing like thousands and thousands of dollars that had been saved up in their retirement funds for years, and there was no real consolation for it. And everything that's happening now, like it's a lot of hoops to jump through to get the kind of support that you need financially. But Minnesota's done a lot for public schooling, and there's a lot of like extra funding, and like they just take care of their students, like down to basic things like being able to feed them and provide menstrual products and things like that. People really take for granted like what having resources does to like the psyche of students, and like having security for your basic needs like makes you want to branch out more. So it's definitely intimidating, and there's a lot to be done, and unfortunately you have to learn more and more every year as a teacher, because the country does get more and more dangerous, I feel like, with the ways that certain things go. But I want to be able to build a classroom that like teaches kids things that they'll use later, like even if it's little rinky-dink stuff that helps you turn out like a quick Mother's Day present or something, like things that you'll be able to pull out and think about, because I feel like so much of it's just busy work just to get you through it.
Yeah.
So, in the new wave of the iPad baby, art classes are more healing than ever. Like, that's like touching grass.
Get your hands dirty.
Yeah.
Touch some paint.
I love that. Next question. When was the moment you knew you wanted to be an artist?
I don't think I ever like had a moment. I mean, I've been drawing obsessively since I was like a wee thing. Like, I don't know. I got complimented one time when I was like maybe 4, and I was like, okay, we're rolling with this.
This is it. This is my personality now.
And also, I mean, as a kid, I was like so obsessed with like YouTube like art tutorials, and that's literally what I do for fun. And like, shout out to like 8-year-old me for like being on that, because it actually gave me like so much practical experience like really young.
You guys know the channels, like I think it's like Too Cute Draw or something. It's like a chibi style like tutorial.
I probably watched one, whether I know it or not.
I was so obsessed with those like how to draw. It was a how to draw ones. Yeah. What about you?
I know there was a big shift sometime in middle school whenever I realized that like art school was an option, and it was always kind of this far off thing because I figured like academics had to come first. But I remember like especially getting into painting, and like I had all these acrylic paints, and there was a certain point like in late middle school where I was like, I need to learn how to mix from the primaries. This is like, this needs to be my personality. And it was, and it's actually helped me so much. I switched to oil painting like just the very beginning of last year, and it's come to me super easy because I started building those skills super young. But it was all very self-guided up until that point, but probably sometime around 13, 14, 15.
That's sick.
Yeah.
And then last advice from the book, and then we'll move on to the bonus questions. One advice for freshman year students, so me.
What was it, advice for freshman year students? Honestly, I was complimenting this project earlier, but one of the most important things, like obviously the resources you get here, but also like your peers and your professors. Talk to people, like make like connections and friendships, because like being in a community of artists like this is something we're not going to experience again after we graduate. Like, it is kind of like this sacred, like incredible thing.
Being artist is a lonely endeavor.
Yeah, well, but I mean, even though there's always communities and collectives, like a studio space like this is like something that's expensive and hard to come by.
Yeah.
And even then, I mean, like, they're not as active as it is gonna be
Yeah.
like while we're students.
Yeah.
Like, people
I
have day
love
jobs.
these setups. It's like a cubicle, but it's like cool.
Yeah,
Yes.
the fine arts and the painting studios.
Fine arts is so good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They let us paint on our walls.
Yes.
That's what I've heard. Like you can do anything, nail, glue.
Honestly,
They
yeah.
will. They don't care. Which is
Screws.
so awesome. So awesome. I can't imagine the moving day.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough.
Ugh.
But yeah, connect with your peers, and
Mhm.
also like, we'll always have projects where we don't like what we make
Hmm.
as artists, but make sure you pick some things to really like go above and beyond in, that you like feel fulfilled with your work,
Mhm.
and like you can look back on and like be proud of.
Also, I'm just curious. Did you steal this from like the art studios?
No, we
This
have.
came with it.
Yeah, there's
Oh, okay.
easels around. A lot of people have their own.
The
these
furniture
are the,
migrates.
Yeah, these
Oh,
are
okay.
these easels are from MCAD. They're not mine.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I was like, it looks familiar.
Yeah.
And then what about you? Any advice?
First of all, completely agree with all of that. In my opinion, the whole point of art school is community and critique. You need to meet your peers. You need to build those relationships. Working with other artists is what's really going to help you like branch out and meet people. Is getting as many people together as you can. A great professor to talk to about that is Nick Chatfield Taylor.
Shout out.
Yes, he's absolutely wonderful. He's a very new professor here, but so much of his work up until this point has just been him getting into galleries and then doing as much as he can to get everybody else into it. So, work with other people. 2, if you have work that you know that you want to make, keep it in your back pocket and try and find ways to work it into your classes, because getting critique on the things that you care about is going to make you a better artist 100%. If you can find ways to work in the stuff that you enjoy, it will, 1, make working easier, and 2, make your critiques much more fulfilling, because you're actually getting critiqued on the work that like is going to go in your portfolio, like the things that you should really, not that you shouldn't be caring about all of your work, but the things that you care about the most. But yeah, professors are gems. You should talk to a lot of them. There are plenty of them that really do want to make you like see, or that want to see you make as much work as possible, or the best work as possible, especially some of our older professors who've kind of seen like not the rise and fall of MCAD, but the rise and fall of MCAD, because whenever there were less regulations, students were allowed to do a little more, but they do still find ways to work you in. Like they really do want to see you succeed. I don't think there's a professor here that really wants to see all the students fucking fail.
Yeah.
Pardon my French. But
And
yeah.
one more thing, young professors, like maybe your professor in the class that you're, like the recent grads, and like, yeah, what you were saying with Nicholas Chatfield Taylor, Roshan Ganu.
Yes.
People who have recently graduated will give
Emma
you the
Beatrice.
best. Emma Beatrice will give you the best advice.
Okay.
You
Yeah.
know, like the most current, relevant advice, and also like the fact that if they're fresh out of postgrad and they already have a teaching job at MCAD, they know their shit. They're doing something right. So those are really people like you should go to for guidance.
That's so cool. Okay, bonus round. Clap. Bonus questions. So these are more like, not that serious questions. So you can take your time, or just. All right, let's start with this one. What makes an art work good in your opinion?
Ooh.
You go first.
Man. I think we're about to get into a point in the art community where we have to start talking about aesthetics and subcultures a lot, because it influences so much of modern art. And I think those niches kind of control people's like vibe with their work. I couldn't tell you specifically what makes a work good, because I've seen plenty of pieces that do not correlate at all. I could take some of my favorite works and put them in a room together and nobody would understand why they're in the same room. Some of it's a matter of vibe, some of it's a matter of like how they represent their materials and their subjects. Some of it requires a bigger scale, some of it doesn't. It's that's a weird one. I don't know. I don't have a good answer for
I
that.
thought you were gonna go all Anna Chisholm and get
Nah.
philosophical.
I don't have it. Not in me tonight.
It's okay if you don't know. I don't know either. That's what I'm asking.
Man, I wish I did. If I knew, this would be a lot easier. But
How about you?
Hot take. all the professors at MCAT are not gonna like my answer to this question, but I love art for aesthetics and artisanship. Like, we are at a contemporary art school where there is heavy emphasis on, like, intention and, like, philosophical musings and, like, how your art contributes to the world and society and questions it. But also, art is a joy, art is a craft. Like, yes, do I try to make pieces that are conceptually, like, challenging and pose bigger questions, but also I love just making a piece of art that, like, fulfills me in the way that it's a challenge, that it's something difficult to make, and it's something aesthetically pleasing to look at.
Yeah, I think, like, sometimes I do feel like we have, like, maybe gone to on the other side of, like, you know, the thought behind the artwork, but, like, because, like, sometimes I'll see, like, on TikTok, I'll see, like, really great, amazing concepts, but then the execution is, like, I feel like, you know, they could have done a lot more to emphasize their point, so, yeah, I see that, but it's so hard to judge, because, you know, it's like, what is, you know, aesthetically pleasing? It's like a more gray area, and like, you know, it's like, I like what I like, but, you know, also they can do what they can do.
It's the reason that the art world is what it is.
Right, and it's weird, it's like the only space where it's like things are up-ended, you know, like if you're a doctor or, you know, fire policeman, like there's like criterias of like, you know, there's like standards.
You can be good or bad at your job.
Yeah.
There's standards, but, you know, art, you know, and this is the good and the bad thing about art, it's like so fluid. Yeah, what do you guys think about that?
I really do enjoy the diversity. I think, like, I don't know. It's really strange to be an artist because, like, so many things can mean so many things. It's weird, like, trying to get to a point because, like, I don't know. I think one of the best examples of this is from my curating class last year. We were sitting in class and my professor started crying because she was explaining how she was telling a man in Chicago about what the Felix Gonzalez Torres piece, Portrait of Ross, was about. And
Which was that one portrait? I heard
it's
of it.
just a pile of candy on the floor.
Oh, yes.
But it totals to the weight that his partner was before he was
Yeah,
diagnosed with
I
AIDS. And
remember.
so as people take away from the exhibit, like it becomes this interactive and beautiful thing. But, you know, you look at that from an outside perspective, you have no idea. And this man's like, well, I could put a bunch of candy in a corner. And then you put context to it, and a pile of candy on the floor
Yeah.
becomes something that would make you sob in a
Tragic.
gallery, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I would ugly cry in a gallery over that, full stop. I don't know. I think it's this kind of beautiful way to just make the mundane into something
Yeah.
more. And
I think it's like people not in the art industry group art just as like a whole when there's so many different like sectors that it's like you can't really answer this question because it's not like, yes, it's the same art, like, I guess, label, but it's not.
Yep.
In my opinion. All right, any lasting thoughts or we can move on? All right, next question. An art style that you love and then one that you hate.
goodness. Well, I'll start
Okay.
because I have beef
Go.
with Jeff Koons. I don't like him. He
Heard that name before.
Jeff Koons.
He does the balloon dog.
He does the balloon animals.
And some of the random things, but he never makes his own art.
Exactly. That's what
He
upsets
has like
me so
infinite
deeply.
money glitch.
Yes,
Yeah.
he does.
He
Exactly.
hires studio rats.
He has so many of them too. I think the best.
Doesn't he have one at Mia?
No, that's
It's
Dave
not a-
Chihuly.
okay.
But he does the same thing, and I don't like
I was
him for
gonna
the
say
same
Dave
reason.
Chihuly, that's not my answer.
Listen. You can yap about him. I'm gonna yap about Jeff Koons.
Go.
I don't enjoy styles that require people to take credit away from the people that help build their work. I don't think that they can like kind of copyright their ideas and then ignore the fact that there were so many hands that went into the making of it. Like,
And not his.
exactly.
He
None
didn't
of them are
touch it.
his. There's actually a really great PBS interview with him, I'm pretty sure, where he just sits and talks to the camera, and there's like 12 people behind him painting this massive mural that he put together on Photoshop, and that's all that he did with it. Like,
Although devil's advocate, you could say that's like the role of a director. He could technically be a director directing his vision.
I rock with
But the
that,
thing
but
is-
directors credit their assistants.
Yes.
Directors,
Yeah, he needs credits.
the stagehands go in the playbill too.
Dang.
But also, like, he hires from very talented artists
Yep.
that don't have followings. Like, I mean, the mural that you're talking about, like, it's like a realism piece.
It,
like,
it
it's incredibly,
requires
like, detailed.
an incredibly
yes.
skilled hand, and to minimize like someone who has worked so deeply, like that could be any one of us, So to think of artists taking advantage of other artists makes me sad, and
Yeah.
styles and things that require that give me the ick. Do you want to be a hater too before we move on to bringing joy to things?
Yeah, I mean, my answer was actually going to be really similar to
Yeah.
Miles's. I was going to say Dale Chihuly, which actually, like, from, like, a viewing standpoint, I love his glass work. There's one over by the Mia.
What's
like,
the name
near
again?
Dale Chihuly. There are these large glass blown pieces that kind of resemble, like, miniature suns. They usually hang.
Oh, I see.
And
Yeah.
they're so dangerous.
They are.
They're so dangerous. They're beautiful, but also he doesn't touch them. He doesn't blow any of the glass. He's just kind of like, go make a thing, and he also gives kind of abstract directions. It's just that he was the first person to do it, so now he kind of has like this ownership like over that style of chandelier. But also, he just is like kind of infamous for treating his apprentices really bad. Like, they have crazy work hours too. So
Oh,
that's the other
that
thing.
sucks. Art styles that you love.
Anything woodcut. I love the look of woodcut
Woodcut?
thing. Yes, like block printing, stuff like that. I love print media. I can't do it very well myself. I've made a couple of stamps out of linoleum, and they haven't been bad, and they've worked for the projects that I've needed them to work for. But I am in no way versed in that, and I'm just kind of mesmerized by all the things that people do with paper, low key. I love it so deeply. And then, I love a good painter. I love a good painter with a muted palette similar to mine, not to be biased. But yeah,
And you?
art styles.
We'll talk about tattoo artists.
Yes.
Ooh.
'Cause shout out, tattoos can be fine art.
Yes.
One of my favorite tattoo artists of all time, his name is Phibbs, and he makes some of the most beautiful bodysuits. I can show you his Instagram. Phibbs is like his tattoo artist name. I don't know what his name is. It's not posted
Oh,
anywhere.
is it anything like this?
Yes. So
Okay.
let me find
wow.
some of his bodysuits. He does heavy black and gray work,
wow.
and they're stunning. There's
It's so like futuristic. Wow, that is
yes.
gorgeous.
And his designs are specifically like made. Like he draws them up per person to like fit the person's body and like their
Yeah.
muscles and like
Oh, that's like
it's such a
no
beautifully
regrets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's such a beautifully personal
And it's
process.
timeless too.
Yes,
Yes,
and
it
it's
is.
timeless, and this is kind of like what I mean. Okay, this is Ashley's bodysuit, which is one of my favorite pieces by him. It's so stunning.
Oh wow,
It's so
I
so
would
stunning.
I stare. I just stare.
Yeah, and I think there's something so beautiful. I mean, like, one of the reasons why I love tattoos that I touched on earlier is, like, there's something about, like, investing that time into, like, getting a piece of art, like, on you, like, permanently, and the relationship that, like, we have in terms of, like, being able to wear art. Like, that is so fucking beautiful. And I really love bodysuits. Like, you're constructing, like, a customized, like, piece of art
Yeah.
for someone for the rest of their life, which is kind of horrifying if you think of it in, like, terms of, like, you're the artist responsible for that, but also so damn beautiful.
Yeah. All right, next question. What is your binge art food? Do you guys eat while you draw, and if so, what?
Flamin' Hot Cheetos, not good for
Wow.
work. It's messy, but, like, it's just, like, God, it hits.
It's easy.
I tend to keep good filling snacks in the bag. You will find me with beef jerky. I will have it.
Me too.
It's-
Bro, like the mini market to see me coming.
It is.
Because I'm always like,
It is on my person at all times.
it's expensive, but if I It's an investment.
It's an investment. If I'm gonna be working in the studio and I don't have time to go home, I'm grubbing. I am throwing down beef jerky.
It is like a really bad, expensive addiction I too have. And
Get one of those giant bags that are like
Big
this
bags.
big, and then, you know, it's an investment. You have it on.
yeah, I get the little small ones at the Mary Mart. It's like not enough. It's like a nibble.
It's extortion.
It's so sad.
All right, next question. Do you make art for yourself or do you make art for others?
Mine's been very self-serving, and it has been for a hot minute.
There are no wrong answers. No wrong answers.
Yeah. It's a little bit for other people. I've done like portraits of other people because I do, like I said, I make a lot of work about a specific place and specific people. So in a way, it's kind of for them, but it's all about my own experiences. So it's kind of
Yeah.
it's more me.
Was this your question?
Yeah.
This is good. This is diabolical.
This is a really good
I
interview
always
for
thought
real.
of that because I'm like, am I selfish or like I don't know. I personally, for me, I make others for others because I like the validation in a
No,
way.
literally.
Or I'm like, you know, or like, oh, I like making people feel something through the art. So like, it serves myself by serving others in a weird way. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I'm like always curious like what other people's like, you know, experiences.
No, it's definitely always been for others for me. I mean, like, when I was a kid, the reason I loved art was, like, you know, you draw a shitty picture of your mom that honestly is, like, kind of offensive. Like, you know, when you're, like, 4, and it's like,
But
you
it's
didn't
in the
make her look,
fridge.
yeah, you didn't make her look human, but it's on the fridge, and, you know, and they get really excited for you.
Yeah.
And I kind of grew up with, like, artists, like, being a part of, like, my identity, because I stuck with it when I was so young. And, you know, I've always, every year for birthdays and Christmas, I always give gifts that are
Your
art
go-to.
themed. Yeah, and even now, like, that I'm older and I'm deeper in my practice, it's always the thought of, like, how will this be received? Like, how will people, like, perceive this? Which is also maybe the anxiety within me speaking. And the fact that I really want to be able to sell and live off of my art. But, you know, there's always going to be that side of it. I mean, do I make work for me that's personal? Yes. But even when I do, I obsess over, like, technique. I want it to, like, come across as, like, well composed, and, like, how will people read this? Like, how will people understand this? Like, there's always that thought of, like, art is something that is consumed by other people, and that's what makes it art.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, yes, you can make art for yourself and not show it to anyone.
It can also be a shared activity.
Yes, like, for me, the sharing of art, of someone seeing it and someone interpreting it and someone reading it and making their story and connection to it, like, that is, like, the experience of the artwork.
Yeah.
Like, that is its life in a way.
Final form.
Yeah, basically.
Getting perceived.
Yeah.
Next question. Unpopular art opinions. This is another time to rant.
MCAD needs more anatomy classes and to teach environments and more foundational
I
drawing
think there was
skills.
a figure drawing class here.
But there's
There
only
is
one.
drawing two.
Your drawing 2 will get you into
It's
figure,
figure.
but after that, it's only one figure drawing class.
Okay.
Which is,
There's no anatomy, but is that one more anatomy focused? Cause
there's anatomy for animation.
oh,
Yeah.
Which is, you need other, I mean, that's exclusively
Yeah.
for that major. Yeah, no.
Because
it's
it's all
weird
about
because
the
you
body
still need
movements.
anatomy for other stuff, but
Yeah, I mean, and lighting. Like that, we don't have a
yes.
class to study lighting, which is kind of crazy considering the amount of drawing painting people we have.
Because drawing 1 and 2 is absolutely about, like, forms, almost exclusively, I
Well,
feel
but
like.
drawing 1 and 2 is so what you make of it. Like, there is
This
very
is
little
true.
instructor hand, like, it's very unguided, which is like.
Really? I feel like
That's-
mine was very specific.
it's like
Roshan was a little
Roshan-
more locked into her second year of
Roshan locked
teaching.
in. Emma's, I feel like she was very hard about, like, the basics that they were nailing in.
I never really got
Yeah.
that, but I don't know. It's realism is not the end all be all of things, but if you can do anything, then you can make whatever you want. You're not limited by your technique. And MCAD really doesn't push on technique, which I think in some ways is a good thing. Like, there are so many beautiful conceptual artists that really thrive here, but also there are so many beautiful conceptual artists that thrive here that could be concepting so much harder if they could literally create anything they wanted, like from their imagination. Like, it is important to have that background to be able to make what you want.
Any other comments?
Hold on, what was the question again before I...
Unpopular art opinion.
Hot takes.
Hot takes. Are we doing specifically MCAT hot takes?
That's just what mine was.
I'm leaving it open.
Okay. Because I have some MCAT hot takes.
Okay.
You need to crack down on tracing.
Oh,
that's my hot take.
Yes. It does happen.
What classes?
Happened in my comics class.
Yeah.
Isn't there like a policy on like no art, no tracing? Or?
I mean, yes, but it's truly not enforced.
There's only so many ways that you can enforce it, honestly. Like, it kind of gets to a weird point, unfortunately. I used to like to say in high school that art school was the only place that you couldn't cheat, to make them feel better about like how much work I was gonna have to put in. But I don't know.
And it's also probably awkward to call them out, be like, hey, that looks familiar. Did you by chance heavily reference?
It is, especially whenever you know the reference photo and you know the reference photo well, or you know the artist that was referenced. Like, it's a little more than a little frustrating to see sometimes.
I think at that point it's like they're doing themselves a disservice by just tracing.
They absolutely are, and that's the truth of it. But it doesn't get addressed very much, so that's real. But art trends are great and they get us lots of places, but I think forcing people to, because I used to have a little more of a social media presence, and I started that in high school, and I'm trying to get back into it a little bit. I think trying to follow those trends is exhausting to artists, and I think that being the only way that you can like start freelance kind of on your own is online. I feel like is that kind of natural step up is starting an Etsy or starting an Instagram.
Some artists are just meant to be mysterious, and you gotta find them in their studio.
Exactly. You should find me in a dark alley somewhere.
Yeah.
In order to exist as an artist, we owe ourselves so grotesquely oversharing our process on social media to survive, because you have to post so much, you have to create so much content. Like, you have to be kind of outside of your space of your practice, because you have to be like, oh, I have to film clips of my work right now.
It takes me out of my flow every time that I do it.
Yes,
it really
and
does.
it's kind of this thing where it's also like necessary for survival. Like, artists do their own PR. Like, your social media presence is your audience.
Yeah, no more word of mouth.
No more word of mouth. So, as much as it's, I don't know, a quote unquote easy tool.
Although in some ways I am like, what's it called, like upholding that, because like I was meet a really cool artist. I'm like, do you have social media? What do you mean you don't have social media?
Well, it's also like, again, it is a helpful tool to connect with people. You can find people, you can stay involved with their work so much easier, you know?
It just shouldn't be like a need if you want to be successful. I just wish I don't know. I think, okay, next question. Biggest art inspo?
Sierra Evans. Definitely.
Find this little Dutch boy's name.
I
know his first name's Tails. I can't remember his last name.
Sierra Evans. What is your first name?
Cierraevans. She's an artist from Bath County, Kentucky.
Oh, wait, sorry. What is your name?
Oh, sorry. Miles Mattingly.
Miles. And how do you spell the last part?
Matttingly.
Okay. And what's your response?
My artist or my name?
Artist.
Their name is Tails Jaquel. They're younger than me. They're only 20. They're an art school dropout. They dropped out when they were 19. But their artwork is
I saw their YouTube channel. Oh
beautiful.
My god.
Yes, this is my favorite work of theirs. Under a God I Don't Believe In.
Insane. Yeah. Only 20?
They're only 20. Yep. They're younger than me. That's so messed up.
That's heartbreaking.
It is. But they like really are a great source of inspiration, and something I really admire about their work is like their sense of like otherworldly out of bodiness. Like that's something I kind of strive for.
Yeah, I
Also,
see the inspiration like, from
Yes, in a different medium. Well, not medium. It is both oil paint, but like in a different avenue. Like yes.
last question. Oh wait, 2 more questions. Your favorite process in your art, like what do you enjoy doing the most in part of your process? The planning, the writing, the drawing, the sculpting.
The last half an hour. Details. When everything looks good and I'm like,
You can just like relax and like.
we got there.
touch-ups.
Yeah. You know,
Those
we're just
little
doing
wispy
little
strokes.
Yeah, the refining, the sauce at the end.
I kind of like the beginning. I like my little scrappy sketches. I do all my I do a lot of very iterative work. I tend to make little photo collages just with whatever I can find, and if I don't have the reference image myself, I pull it from Google and I warp it until it's what I need it to be. But as I'm working on like those collages, I sit there and I draw and I draw and I draw and I redraw all of the subjects in a million different poses. And if like I'm drawing a dog, then the dog is sitting, the dog is running, the dog is jumping, the dog is here, the dog is from behind, the dog is from the front. Like I don't know, I get kind of obsessive, and it turns out these really fun, scrappy little sketchbook pages that bring me a lot of joy.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And then last question. Can you say one nice thing about AI art?
There has to be a whole lot of really good people funding that thing or putting their work into it to make it that decent.
I have a genuine thing that I love about AI art. And you know what it is? It's the crochet. It's the terrible crochets.
It is
There was
the
this
fabric
TikTok trend.
work.
This TikTok trend where it would, if you give AI a prompt and you tell it like make a crochet pattern of this animal, and it makes the most sick and twisted things. They come out so bad. People also did it with like Pokemon, and they come out so goofy. It actually, it brings me joy. It brings me a lot of joy. Computers can't count. They can't count stitches.
They
well,
can't count
apparently.
stitches. I can't count stitches.
Can't hate on them
Man.
too much.
Maybe your AI.
Do what?
Is it maybe your AI?
Maybe I am. Maybe I am the robot.
All right, this is all the questions we have. If you have any last minute comments, shout outs, last words you want to say before we close this chapter.
Get off campus, go to the MIA, talk to people.
That's on campus. That's also on campus. Good energy.
Yeah.
Sorry not to hate. Enjoy your time here. College is short. It goes by really quick.
Yeah.
And yeah, there are woes. Assignments and nights are long, and also it's very expensive. But also, there's a lot of magic in it.
Well, thank you guys for your time. This has been a great conversation, the longest one yet.
Oh, snap.
But no, it's great. I hope you guys enjoy, and that's a wrap.